your own situation, you don't consider it rape because you had sex you didn't want to have, right?
Again, in what sense? I did want to have sex with them in the sense that I wanted to make sure that they felt loved and that they felt taken care of and that they weren't insecure. They never said, hey, have sex with me or I'm going to feel insecure. That part didn't happen.
Okay.
That never happened.
So how do you think they would feel if they knew you were only having sex with them to placate them and not because you wanted to have it too?
Again, at the time, if they're saying, hey, but I want to have sex, and eventually I'm just like, oh, okay.
Please answer that question. How do you think your ex would feel if they knew you were only having sex with them just to make them feel better and you didn't actually want to have it? Do you think that she would be okay with that, or would she not be okay with that?
I've answered this a couple of times. I think that they do know this when it's happened. You can keep asking the same question. I do feel like they know this.
If they knew you didn't want to have the sex,
that's a cool story, bro. Answer the question. Stop skipping to this. You can keep skipping to other things that are rape. Answer the fucking question. What the fuck? This isn't that hard. Answer the fucking question, dude. Seriously. No, you're not. You're telling me something else is rape. Tell me why this example is rape.
All right, it's coming through. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing well. Okay, so you're gonna no video then?
It seems
that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just okay.
So how does I'm just making sure chat on my end. How does everything sound? Am I too lefty audio right now? I'm good on your end, Tom.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, checking the chat. How do I sound? Tipster, how do I sound? Okay, cool. All right, how you doing today, Tom?
Doing well. How are you?
Cool. Just sipping some coffee. Just wanted to talk to you about your coverage of the Keffals ex-partner SA situation.
Yeah.
So I just want to first start out. What made you care about it?
Well, real quick, I want to ask: Are you? So numerous times she's asked or she's stated that Ellen is able to confirm X, Y, and Z. Are you that Ellen?
No, I'm not her partner.
Just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure that was not the case. Okay.
Her partner is cuter than me. I am the second Ellen. I am the beta Ellen to her alpha Ellen.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know that anything made me care about it. I'd been covering a lot more for stuff with tankies and shit like that, and I was really enjoying her. Felt like a redemption arc, and I was enjoying it, and thought she was doing really well. And then the Xanderhall stuff as well, I was definitely on her side with all of the Xanderhall stuff. I did a whole video essay on the shoe on head stuff between him and her about a year ago, and that was this was an extension of that. So I just happened to be covering Xanderhall and her talking about this stuff, and then I thought she did some dirty stuff to him in that kind of area during that time.
What dirty stuff did she do to Xanderhall?
I don't remember exactly. She was she was using some manipulative language. I have it my review of it's still up, but I was kind of getting annoyed in the way that she was talking to him during it, and then the leaking of the DMs afterwards from him seemed really weird. When White Nervosa just made a huge deal about the fact that if Xanderhall leaked DMs without consent, that he was going to get dropped from the website, but then Keffals leaked Xanderhall's DMs without his consent, and nothing happened and nobody cared about it. That was super odd to me. And then she did the Hassan video, which I covered, and she said that this was
It seems like you're a bigger Keffals fan than I am.
Yeah.
I'm just more curious about why. I have some journalistic experience. And one of the first things when you're covering things or anything like that is to ask who is it for, right? So I wanted to ask in terms of covering her SA allegations against her ex-partner and all that and stuff like that, who was that content for?
I cover news that happens in Twitch politics, so I just happen to cover what's going on.
I mean, like, okay, there's lots of things that are news. There are like, okay, like a cat in a tree is news, but is it totally about like who like I just want to know like what kind of person in your community do you think um cares about Keffals essay allegations against their partner, and why is this information needed to them?
These are not things that I consider. Like, yes, a cat in a tree is news, but if there's bigger things happening, nobody's going to cover the cat in the tree. At this time, there was nothing bigger than the cat in the tree, so I covered the fucking cat in the tree.
So, like, you just like you needed content, so you decided to use someone's essay allegations just to fill up. I'm a streamer, I get it. It's hard to book things and get content. I just personally,
Well,
would never.
not
I
even
would
just
understand.
that. We happen to like talk
I get
more.
covering as Tipster just said. I get covering a popular influencer having essay allegations and stuff like that. But we're more concerned on the take that what she experienced not being essay. I'm not so like really trying to defend Keffel's honor. I'm just trying to understand why you think it's
Just to be clear, I've never said that it wasn't sexual assault. I have said this a million times. I can clarify for the 100,000th time.
Okay.
I never said that it was not sexual assault. I've clarified so many fucking times. I never said she wasn't abused. I never said that she wasn't assaulted. I never said she wasn't raped. I have not said these things.
I'm just going to ask you, Tom. If someone tries to have sex with another person and that person doesn't do or say anything to stop, but they just lay there, do you think that's consensual?
I don't think I would have enough information to make that determination. Do you think you have enough information there?
Oh, yeah. I think if I started having sex with my partner and they're literally starfishing there, I think it's on me to stop and make sure that they're okay. Because I don't know, my dick game isn't trash, so people don't really starfish for me.
Yeah, sure. So if she was starfishing, she didn't say that, but she did say that she was just laying there. But we didn't get other information about like facial expressions, body language, like shit like this. She did say that she was disassociating, so I'm not sure what kind of disassociation that is, because I would have trouble even taking this recollection based on what kind of disassociating it was.
But do you think it's like, do you like care like that, like the other person doesn't want it? Because like I feel like in the hypothetical you've created or situation like that, it is more protecting the person wanting the sex than the person who doesn't want the sex. Is that
It shouldn't be protecting either person.
I mean, I think that like I feel like the person being had sex with should be the more protected party than the horny person. Should we?
I think that discredits literally everything you're going to have to say on this topic.
How does that discredit what I have to say?
Well, you're saying that you're already leaning into one direction, feeling like there's like you should lean towards them in their favor for some reason.
Look,
whereas
I care whether or not somebody wants to have sex with me. Do you care whether the person you have sex with doesn't want to have sex with you, or are you okay with getting sex on a technicality?
Yeah, of course I care.
Okay. So the whole like the reason that people are pushing for more affirmative consent models and stuff like that is because it accommodates people that are disassociative. Maybe they like freeze and stuff like that. I understand as a man, like me and you are probably around the same age. We did not grow up in an era where people think like if a woman said yes, even under duress, back when we were growing up, that like society considered that consensual, and things have shifted. I agree with the shift. Do you not agree with the shift?
Yeah, of course I do. Yes, but whether or not we say that this is the way that it ought to be doesn't discount the fact that that's not exactly how it is. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody where that's not how you ever end up having sex, is like through these sorts of affirmative or reaffirmations, like as you're going through, we wouldn't expect those to happen. But if you are each and every time giving each other verbal consent and both of you are saying, yes, I want to have sex with you, and then all of a sudden there's one time where you didn't do that and the person saying I didn't consent, yeah, that would be a really big deal all of a sudden that neither one of you said, yes, I want to consent to this, right?
Have you ever like had sex with somebody that wasn't very responsive?
No, not really, no. But
Okay.
I've had sex where I wasn't very responsive and I wasn't really into it, but I was willing to do it just to like make them
you didn't
happy.
have to do that. Whether you know, if you personally don't want to like call something like that, like because you didn't feel like you were affected, that's within your right. But you have to understand that other people can be affected in different ways off of the same action,
I
right?
haven't said anything otherwise. I don't know why you keep like talking down to me like I'm saying things that I'm not saying, and it's kind of obnoxious. If you want to ask me questions, I'm happy to answer them, but it's like getting a little ridiculous. The fact that you seem to know nothing about consent, yet you're talking down to me as though I'm the one who doesn't understand this situation.
What about consent don't I know?
First off, you came in here saying that I said that she wasn't sexually assaulted. So something about what I've said was horribly misread, or you just made it up. I don't know which one of those things it is. But if I'm talking about consent and somehow that's what you got from what I said, yeah, I would assume that you actually have no understanding of consent.
From the comment where you said that's not enough information. That if, like, if you start having sex with somebody and they don't stop you, you said that that's not enough information. If you're just having sex with someone and the only thing giving like you the idea that they want it is that they're not stopping you, I would consider that fairly rapey.
Hold on. If I say that's not enough information, you think that's the same thing as me saying that that person wasn't sexually assaulted?
I think if you just have sex with someone and they are not responding whatsoever, and the only thing that's giving you the inclination that it's okay is that they're not saying no, I think that's a fairly rapey precedent to set.
Well, this is new information. Did she say that she wasn't responsive?
No, I'm going purely off of your comment. Well, with the comment on your video, somebody said if somebody tries to have sex with another person and that person doesn't do or say anything to stop, and they just lay there, do you think that's consensual? And you said that that's not enough information.
Yes, correct.
So you think that if you have sex with somebody and they just lay there, that it's consensual?
No, I don't think it's consensual. I don't have enough information.
Well, that is enough. We're doing a hypothetical, so we don't have to do evidentiary things. We're not talking about an actual situation.
I'm not talking about evidence. I'm saying I don't have enough information. Like the person has not provided information. So like, do they do like consensual not consent where they have some sort of safe word and it wasn't used, and this is like a normal thing where the person's supposed to play dead? Okay. Do they generally get into sex without like either one of them actually saying anything? Do they normally have foreplay?
There's usually some kind of enthusiasm, though, at least, right?
There can be, yes. Not necessarily, no. Especially not in long-term relationships after you've been together for a while.
You said personally that you have had sex that you personally didn't really want to have, but just because your partner was horny or something like that. Do you think your partner likes that you were only having sex with them just to placate them?
At the time, yeah, sure, they were happy about that.
Do you think that's a good precedent to set? Like, it's not like it's not the 1800s anymore. Like the masturbation technology has gotten better. She could have just jerked off instead of bringing you into sex you didn't want to do.
It depends on whether or not I'm okay with it.
If there's no enthusiasm, then why do it?
Because she wants to do it, and I'm not really in the mood, don't really feel like doing it, but I want to make her happy and I want her to feel like loved and all of those things. So
why would she feel unloved by you asserting that you just don't feel like having sex right then?
Well, lots of relationships actually, like divorces, lots of people name that they haven't had sex in a really long time as like reasons why people divorce. So it's a fairly common thing that people start to feel unloved or like the relationship's falling apart because of those things.
Yeah, but if you're not sexual, if you don't feel like having sex and stuff like that, that's like fine. And then if you guys aren't having enough sex to a point where you're like, we shouldn't even be partners together anymore, then you should just not be partners anymore, not force yourself to have sex.
Well, that depends. Like, if I'm willing to have sex because I want to stay partners with them, I'm just not in the mood to have sex, but that doesn't mean that I don't love them anymore. They're going to get that implication from the idea, or from the fact that I'm not having sex with them, and I don't want them to get that implication from them, because I do still love them.
Why don't you just communicate, hey, I still love you, even though I'm not being fairly sexy. I'm dealing with my own thing right now. But
that's a really
here,
simple way of doing it, but insecurities don't work that way. When somebody feels like you're not actually engaging with them, and you don't maybe find them sexy anymore, maybe you don't love them anymore.
Should you be in a relationship with someone that you don't feel like you can communicate, you don't want to have sex with them?
Hold on, these are different questions. Whether or not, if I say to them, I don't want to have sex with you right now, and I might not for a while, whether or not that's going to make them insecure, whether or not that's going to make them maybe not want to be with me anymore because they think that I don't love them or I don't find them sexy anymore, is a very different question than whether or not I'm capable of telling them this without them fucking raping me or some shit. These are very different questions.
I mean, if your partner thinks you don't love them because you don't want to have sex right then and there, that's a red flag.
Well, it depends on how many times I've said it.
Okay, but like I'm bringing this back over to the other thing.
Well, no, hold on. You agree with that, right? It depends on how many times I've told her that I don't want to have sex with her, right?
No, I think if the first time, the millionth time, it doesn't matter. If you shouldn't be having sex you don't want to have.
Okay, I just disagree.
So that's a pro-rape position.
No, it's not. I can consent to having sex that I'm not in the mood for, that I don't feel like having, or that I'm a little bit too tired for. But I can still consent to it. I can still make that decision for myself. I don't think that other people should push somebody. So if you have a partner who's saying, hey, I don't want to have sex, you should never push that person to do it. You should never try to convince them into it. You should never do any of these things. But you yourself, if you don't want to have sex, yet you choose to consent anyways because you want to make sure that your partner's taken care of, you have the right to do that.
I personally would feel pretty horrified if I learned my partner was just putting out just to placate me. Do you think your partner wouldn't feel the same way?
She didn't, obviously.
Do you think that that's weird?
No.
You don't think it's weird that someone didn't care whether or not you wanted to have sex or not?
When you say want, okay, if I'm consenting, obviously I want to in some sense. Like, in the sense that I'm too tired, no, I don't want to. In the sense that I kind of want to go to bed, or there's something else I'd rather do, in those senses I don't want to. But in the sense that, like, I want her to feel happy, I don't want her to be insecure, I want her to feel taken care of, in those senses I want to.
I'm just gonna be honest, you're coming off as like you're very like, it's very like strange that like you are like basically saying that you should care whether or not the other person wants to have sex, right? Like, you should care about that, right? Like,
again, you heard what I just said, right? I need you to engage with that, because when you say want, you are oversimplifying this to like a childlike level.
Yes,
I know you read in your handbook like no means no or some shit like that, but
if it's not enthusiastic, yes, then it's a no.
Okay, I would say that's true early on in relationships, on like your first couple of dates, but when you've gotten to know somebody and you've been in a long-term relationship with them, that's not really the case over a long period of time.
No, it stays true.
Okay. I disagree with you.
I can't, like, I would feel utterly horrified if I learned that my partner was so insecure about whether like my like feelings about them, to the point that they're having sex they don't want to have just to keep me around. I would be horrified. And the fact that you don't think your ex is weird for those same behaviors.
Hold on, you keep saying this want. You keep dumbing it down to want.
Okay, what word would you rather me use?
Sense?
What word would you rather me use?
No, you can use want, but want in what sense? I went over like 5 different types of want. Which one?
Okay. Were you horny at the time and wanting to have sex?
No.
Okay. And you agreed to sex you didn't want to have, purely because you were scared of how the other partner would feel if you didn't.
Well, I didn't say I was scared of that. That I wanted to make sure that
you were
wasn't
worried. You were
yeah,
worried
sure.
about their
Yeah,
feelings.
Even if you want to frame it that way, sure. I want to make sure that they feel taken care of and that they feel loved. Yes.
Do you think it's wrong that that level of emotional coercion was placed on you?
No.
So you would accept a relationship where somebody was so insecure that you had sex you didn't want to have just to make sure they were okay?
I didn't say that they were so insecure, and I never said that they placed that emotional
no,
manipulation on me.
I think
I'm saying,
somebody who wants to have sex on a technicality just to make sure their partner cares about them, I think that implies a serious level of insecurity.
why with sex? Why is that so different?
It's because it's not the sex, it's the fact that you don't want to and they don't care.
Yeah, but sure. But if I told somebody like, "Hey, I want you to make dinner," you normally make dinner, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really feel like it," but okay, if you're hungry, I'll go make dinner. You're not going to make a big deal about that, too, are you?
No, because I think making dinner and sex are different.
Yeah. So I asked you, why with sex?
I think I think being made to make dinner and being made to get penetrated or penetrate someone else are uh, leagues differently. I think it's different because like if I make a girl make dinner, they're probably not going to be as traumatized as if I make them suck my dick.
Well, hold on. Wait, if we're talking about traumatized, then that's the worry. I wasn't traumatized, and I knew I wasn't going to be traumatized. If you're well aware that you're not going to be traumatized, then I think that it's okay for you to do this. But if that's where we're taking it, and you think you might be traumatized from telling somebody that you're going to have sex with them when you don't really feel like it, then yes, don't do it. Do not do something that's going to traumatize you.
What if I like what if like a guy is like in an alley or whatever and he like does the SVU style like rape, but the girl happens to be into consensual non-consent or whatever and finds it really hot? Is it no longer rape then?
I don't know what any of that meant. What is SVU style?
Like Special Victims Unit, like Law and Order Special Victims Unit. I'm
I
saying
don't.
like the traditional like rape in the alleyway, like I'm talking about like what even like a fucking dude in the 70s would consider rape, like literal like violent like that, but they happen to do it to somebody who's into that. Does that make it good now just because they happen to be fine with it?
No, I would say that that was probably bad. It
Okay.
might not have been
So
rape, but it wasn't a good
in your
idea.
situation, just because you happen to be okay with being emotionally coerced into sex does not make it no longer doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, but I can explain why that other thing is bad.
Okay.
Like, you don't know that that's actually the case, and so you're
Okay.
like
Well,
kind of forcing
I
yourself upon
here.
somebody, but you're
I
not
just I
capable of
just need to
explaining why this
establish
other thing is bad.
I just need to establish that your potential before we can even talk about the Keffel stuff, we need to like figure out exactly what your like standard for what sexual assault is, because if your standard for sexual assault is so shitty that it's like letting you get emotionally coerced into sex you didn't have, then why should you even be talking about sexual assault at all?
Well, that's kind of the point that I was going to ask you, actually. So let's go back to what you just said. Don't pivot to something else, please. Let's stay
Okay,
on this. We have the rape in the alley. I can say that this is a type of behavior that's actually dangerous, where like you don't know that that person actually wants to have sex with you. You could
hmm
possibly be raping them, and it's even likely in this case. Whereas in this other case, you know that the person is consenting and you are having sex with them with that knowledge. So where is it that you're
wait
like
do you think
conflating these two things?
do you think it's consent if somebody's having a sex they don't want to have just to shut you up?
Again, it depends on what kind of
Okay, well,
consent we're
no,
talking about. Like when
because
you
you
say
don't.
just to shut you
No,
up, like
yeah, that is rape, Tom.
yes,
If you are being made,
if you nagged somebody into having sex with you, and you're just doing it just to
I
get
would
them
say
to
it's
stop
rape, even
nagging.
if, like, say I become like such a huge sad sack that my partner is like I'm like trying to have sex with them, they don't want to, but they know that like I'll get really insecure and like be weird if I don't. That is a coercive element, and that makes it rapey.
Okay, I explained why that part was rape and why the other
Right?
one wasn't. I would be great if you engaged on the same level that I am and explained things instead of just making a bunch of statements over and over and conflating different things that are not alike. That
Okay,
would
what
be
did I
awesome.
conflate?
You keep skipping from one thing to another. Hey, I think that if this person is nagging somebody into this and making them feel bad until
Okay,
they have sex with them, then this is rape. Cool
you
story,
said
bro. Let's go
hold on,
back to the
no,
hypothetical and you engage with what it is that we
you
were
said hold
talking
on,
about for a
you
second, please.
said that in your about your own situation, you don't consider it rape because you had sex you didn't want to have, right?
I again, in what sense? I did want to have sex with them in the sense that I wanted to make sure that they felt loved and that they felt taken care of and that they weren't insecure. They never said, hey, have sex with me or I'm going to feel insecure. That part didn't happen.
Okay.
That never happened.
So how do you think they would feel if they knew you were only having sex with them to placate them and not because you wanted to have it too?
Again, at the time, if they're saying, hey, but I want to have sex, and eventually I'm just like, oh, okay.
Please answer that question. How do you think your ex would feel if they knew you were only having sex with them just to make them feel better and you didn't actually want to have it? Do you think that she would be okay with that, or would she not be okay with that?
I've answered this a couple of times. I think that they do know this when it's happened. You can keep asking the same question. I do feel like they know this.
If they knew you didn't
that's
want to
a
have
cool
the sex,
story, bro. Answer the fucking question. Stop skipping to this. You can keep skipping to other things that are rape. Answer the fucking question. What the fuck? This isn't that hard. Answer the fucking question, dude. Seriously. No, you're not. You're telling me something else is rape. Tell me why this fucking example is rape.
Ask the question again.
Okay. We have the SVU situation where the person is in the alley and they're forcing this person to have sex with them. In the other scenario, we have somebody who wants to have sex with them just to make them feel better and just wants to make sure that they feel taken care of. How is this rape?
Oh, because you're having sex you don't want to have.
Okay. So in any sense, if there's any sense that you don't, like you happen to be in a room that has purple walls and you would rather be in a room with white walls to have sex, is this no longer consensual sex?
Yep. If you don't want to have it, then and you do it anyway, that is pretty rapey. There are sliding scales of rape. It doesn't all have to be terrible.
Fair enough.
If you don't want to have the sex, then you don't have it. If you do, then you do. It's really that simple. And you're like trying to create like weird like rules and stuff like that. It's very sussy.
Fair enough. If that's just the one little thing that you don't like about the way that you're having sex, this makes it unconsensual, I understand where you're coming from now. We can move forward now.
Okay. I also find it very ironic that you get like very mad and yelly about just like very basic questions, but then like you're surprised that other people get very mad
and yelly that you refuse to answer questions. Like mad and yelly that you refuse to answer questions. I had to ask that same question like 3 or 4 times for you to keep going to something else and saying, I think that's bad. Cool story, bro. That's not what I asked.
Okay. So, all right. Now that we've established a baseline where we've established that having sex you don't want to have is bad. We have established that, right?
You believe that any sense of something being off in a room when you have sex is now unconsensual. I do not believe this.
If somebody doesn't want to have sex and you are continuing to get them to do it for reasons other than you also want to have sex, it is rapey, my guy.
Want to have sex in what sense? That the walls were purple?
You are horny and you want to stick your beppis in their vagina. Like that, what? Why are you like trying to create technicalities? I feel like you're trying to rules lawyer.
These aren't technicalities. This is what I'm talking about. Is you guys talk about this on like a childlike level. These aren't technicalities. People want to have sex in some senses and not in others. Yet that doesn't like immediately erase whether or not it was consent. The person decides whether or not they are consenting. They decide whether or not this is the thing that they are choosing to do.
If they are just laying there doing nothing, do you believe that lack of a no is a yes?
In what sense? What does that mean? Just like if they just don't say no?
In sex, if they are just not saying no, but you haven't gotten an affirmation, do you think that's rape?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, then you just disagree with like literally every sexual assault organization in the world.
I don't.
Yes, hold on. We can pull up Planned Parenthood. We can pull up RAIN and stuff like that. So, we can pull all of these things up right now. Hold on. Consent from Planned Parenthood: freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. Okay, if it's not those things, it's not consensual.
What you're reading doesn't change anything that you just said a second ago.
Do you think Planned Parenthood is wrong about rape? Like,
No,
the standard say that.
okay, hold on. Did they say that if you don't have any one of those aspects, it's rape? Did they say that in there?
They say it's not
I,
consent. What do you call non-consensual sex?
I would say that those are suggestions for how to get consent.
Right. What about freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific are like
I
and
agree
that's
with
just
those things. Those are good
those are
suggestions.
criteria
Yes.
that make something consensual. It's not like a way to get the consent.
Yes. I agree. So all of those things actually line up with what it was that I said about having sex with my partner, and except for like whether or not I was enthusiastic about it. But are you going to demand that I now call myself a rape victim?
I mean, you can
Do
call
you
yourself
think I
what you
was
want.
raped? No, no,
You
no.
said
I'm
that you
asking
were.
you
You
though,
said
because you're
you said.
saying that that is what is rape. So if I say that I
I
wasn't
think you. I think. I
enthusiastic,
think
are
you
you
were
saying that I
emotionally.
was raped?
Yeah, you were emotionally coerced into sex.
Okay. So you're willing to like tell apparently a rape victim about their own rape now, right?
Sure.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, I disagree. I think that these are suggestions on how to get consent. This is like what it is that you look for when you're going to have sex with somebody. These are like really good ways to operate when you're trying to have sex with someone.
Yeah. Like it just. I want to go back to like the consent thing that I talked about. Do you disagree with any of those criteria in consent? Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific.
I think those are really good suggestions on what you should look
Okay.
for when having sex with somebody.
So but you just said you were not enthusiastic about the other one,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So if you were not enthusiastically wanting to have sex with someone, and you were doing it just to make them happy, even though you did not want to have sex, you can see why somebody would be like, you're being put into situations where you don't want to do that.
100%. Yes.
Okay, so let's what do you think? Okay, let's apply our standard for what consent is, my standard for what consent is versus your standard for what consent is. Which standard do you think creates less harm?
Yours. And I would go with that standard as far as prescriptions go, 100%.
Okay, so we can try and like debate bro this and stuff like that. I feel like you are in a situation where you cared so much about someone to the point that you were willing to have sex you don't have. Do you like not consider that kind of like bad? At least like I'm not saying you have to call yourself a victim. I'm not saying you have to do anything like that, but can you at least admit that you having sex you didn't want to have just to placate someone else's emotions is at least bad, right?
It's so when we're talking about like the way things actually are versus the way that we think they should be, like I think that's the way people should operate when having sex with somebody, but generally that's not how consent is actually gotten, and that's not how consent works in reality. So just because I say this is how you should go about getting consent from somebody doesn't mean that if you are missing any one of these aspects in reality that now you did not have consent and now you did rape somebody. These are different things. And so if we're talking about like in a pragmatic sense, I think that it is like this is how relationships work. Once you get used to somebody, you're not looking for enthusiasm each and every single time that you ever have sex. But if you are like early on in a relationship and definitely in general, this is what I would prescribe to people is, hey, you should look for enthusiasm. You should want this when you're looking to have sex with somebody.
Okay, but you acknowledge that Planned Parenthood disagrees with you about that, right?
I'm not so sure. Again, when you're saying that this is like how you get consent or whatever, I agree that this is like a good prescription on getting consent.
It's the FRIES acronym and stuff like that.
But yes, but I doubt that they're going to say that if you're missing any one of those aspects that it's automatically rape. I highly doubt that they would.
They will say it's not consensual. Yes, they will say if you are having it's freely given, reversible, informed, and specific, but not enthusiastic. Basically, you're defending criteria that could be used like because like what you're saying is used to defend marital rape is that women should be ready or men should be ready to give their body to their partner whenever they want and stuff like that, whether or not they don't want it and stuff. Those were the
But I'm not saying that.
those were the actual arguments used against, because marital rape wasn't illegal until like the 70s. or something like that. And they literally, the argument used by the pro-marital rape people was that you should give your body to your partner even when you aren't enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's bad.
So, okay. So like you have to like recognize that if having unenthusiastic sex just to placate someone is, I mean, if you don't want to call yourself a victim and stuff like that, that's completely right. But you have to acknowledge that that's not consent.
No, I do not acknowledge that. So just because like the religious people said that you ought to do this for your husband, in saying that you should do this regardless of whether or not you want to do it, or regardless of whether or not you are enthusiastic, I don't agree with that. That's ridiculous. But that doesn't mean that each and every time enthusiasm is gone, that this is the same as that. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, yes. Having unenthusiastic sex just to placate the other person is not consensual. Man. I'm sorry, I'm not just saying this. This isn't my thing. It's Planned Parenthood is saying this, Rain is saying this, and stuff like that. And if you care about negating harm rather than trying to be able to get a nut on a technicality, you would agree with me.
Again, I don't even know that Planned Parenthood actually says this. I would like to read
Here,
this, because they're
I can
saying
send
this
it
is
to
what
you if you'd
consent
like.
is. Yes, but I'm reading it. The freely
Just
given, reversible,
Google,
informed, enthusiastic, specific. But at no point in here is it saying that if you don't have each and every one of these aspects, that it's rape now. These are the things that you ought to look for. These are the things that you ought to get when you're getting consent. But these are not automatic, like you miss one of these and now it's not consensual.
Okay, can you give me an example of consent that is not freely given?
No.
Can you give me an example of reversible that is not freely given? Can you
No.
give me an example of consent that is not reversible?
No. Again, when
Okay,
we
can you
went
give
over
me an
this,
no,
and
we're gonna go through the entire
no,
acronym.
hold on.
We're gonna go
I
through the
already
entire
told
acronym.
you that I agreed with all of these, except for the enthusiastic part.
Okay.
I already said this.
Okay, so why would they put one in there, the enthusiastic one? Like all of these things are like without it, it's not. What makes enthusiasm not as important as freely given, reversible, informed, and specific?
Well, because I can like be tired and want to have sex with somebody and want to be horny and want to do all of these things without the enthusiasm.
No, the wanting makes it enthusiastic, even if your energy levels aren't there. I've been on a 10-hour Molly bang before. I get what it's like to be tired. I'd had to sit in the cuck chair for a minute while the other people fuck. I get it. The want is the important part, not just being tired. If you're tired but want,
Well,
then that's
no. Hold on.
enthusiasm. Even if you can't.
Enthusiasm is like the intense, like desire to do something. I just looked it up. Google intense and eager enjoyment in interest or approval.
I don't want anyone to treat sucking my dick like they're clocking into work. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so that's the level of as long as they want to. If they're tired or something like that or whatever, but still want to, that's still enthusiasm, even if they aren't able to, they're not doing jumping jacks and like acting like they're about to go to Six Flags. That's like a child's idea of enthusiasm.
Okay, so if you disagree with these on what enthusiasm is, then you and I agree. As long as you want to do it, then that's fine. In some sense, you want to do it, then we agree. That's what I said earlier.
I think why
you disagree with that.
But why you want to do it is important. Do you want to do it because you're horny, or do you want to do it because you don't want to deal with the aftermath of not doing it? Because then that's not freely given.
I just disagree with this. Yeah, wholeheartedly. That's ridiculous.
You disagree with what all the sexual assault organizations, Planned Parenthood, and RAIN say about consent. Then
no, I don't. I promise you, if you go read those things again, as you said earlier, you said that I disagree with them, but obviously now that we've gotten into it, I don't disagree with them. And so now, also, if you go find something where it says like, hey, if you just like, if you want to make sure that somebody feels loved and you have sex with them anyways, that's no longer consent. They're not going to say that.
Here, hold on. I'm on rain.org right now. Okay. How does intimate partner sexual violence relate to other kinds of abuse? Sexual violence in a relationship is rarely an isolated incident. It often occurs alongside other forms of abusive behavior, including physical and emotional abuse. For instance, the majority of women who are physically assaulted by an intimate partner have been sexually assaulted by that same partner. Intimate partner sexual violence often starts with controlling behavior that can escalate to further emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Warning signs of abuse include a partner who attempts to cut you off from friends and family, is extremely jealous or upset if you spend time with them, insults you, puts you down, if says you can't do anything right, tries to prevent you from attending work and school, destroys your property, threatens to harm your children, tells you they're worthless and stuff like that. The
I
point,
agree with all of that.
okay, so they, someone that doesn't care whether or not you are enthusiastic about the sex you do and stuff like that, that is a form of abuse, even if you don't want to consider it bad enough to like want any action or whatever. Like things can be abusive, but like not have to be, like taken to the police or whatever and stuff like that. There's degrees to these things.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay,
Right.
what the fuck? I feel like you just walked everything back. Yes, I
I
agree.
didn't
That's my
no, I
point.
didn't walk anything. I
Oh,
the degree of enthusiasm matters.
yes,
Okay?
I
If you did
agree. That's
Okay,
but no,
so
no,
if
no.
you're
Wait. But
hey,
that's why I was saying that like it matters on like different aspects of what it is that you want in this case. What is
okay,
it that you're like?
wait,
What
hold
is
on.
it that you're consenting
So
to? What is it that you want overall? If in
you
the end
don't
you do want to have sex with the person, that
wait,
is the thing that
hold
matters.
on. What if somebody wants to have sex with someone just because they don't want to get the shit kicked out of them?
Then I would say that's coercive.
Okay.
But I
What
do
if
think that like sex is a really important part of a relationship, and whether or not somebody feels loved
I
is a
mean,
really
for
important part
some
of a
relationships,
relationship. And
yes,
if
for
somebody says,
others,
hold on,
not. Yeah.
and if somebody says to their partner, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay in this relationship if we don't have sex. You're not having sex with me very often," and the other person says, "Okay, I will try to be in the mood more often for you." I would not say that that's coercive in any way. I don't think that they're like
I
coercing them into having sex in any way.
I wouldn't want someone to have to like play the Space Jam theme to get like jazzed up and hyped enough to fuck me. I think I would just end the relation like, hey, we have different levels of like sexual needs, and that's okay. You're not a bad person for or anything like that. But I just don't think this is going to work. And the other person is like, no, I will have. I don't want somebody to make themselves have sex with me in order to keep me around. That's like bad. Like that I would feel really bad about somebody trying to have sex they don't want to have in order to keep me around.
Okay, it doesn't make it rape. It's different.
If
Doesn't mean
you're
it's
having
non-consensual. You
if
don't want
you
that. Cool story.
if you are not if you are having sex that you don't want to have and stuff like that, there is a coercive element to it. And it's also on you. You have to be like, oh, is this person just fucking me just so that I stay around or something like that? And you know that and you keep doing it. That's bad, right? We could agree that that's bad, right?
Ellen, did you know that no means no?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Did you do
I don't
you
know.
know
You
that
keep
lack of a
sounding
do
like
you
you're
know
like
that lack of
reading
a
me
yes
stuff out of
also
a
means no?
handbook,
Do you
but
know that lack
this
of yes
isn't
also means no?
lack of what?
You know that lack of yeses also means no?
Yeah, yeah. It depends on what it is that we're
No,
considering the
there's no
yes in this
depends.
case.
There's no depends.
Well,
Lack of a yes means
well,
no.
yes, it does, because the yes in this case is going to go back to those lists that you were giving me before. So it could be eye contact, it could be body language, it could be the ways that you get into sex normally, in the like routines that you've established. It could be a ton of different things. It doesn't have to be a verbal communication of the word
No,
yes.
well, no, wait,
You don't have to
you
have
just
the
no,
verbal
you
communication of the word yes,
already
but
have
you're
just
still but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a no if you didn't get that verbal yes.
yeah, no, yeah, honestly, in today's era, if you're a guy not trying to get a verbal yes, you're a fucking like dumbass setting yourself up. You should
You've been with
definitely.
somebody for 20 years, you need to get a verbal yes from this person?
If you're with somebody for 20 years and they're starfishing, and then you don't go, hey, are you wanting to do this? And you don't hear anything, and you keep going. Yeah, that's kind of rapey, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so if you start having sex, you've already admitted that you had sex you didn't want to have, that you weren't enthusiastic for it.
In a
Two,
specific sense, yes.
yes, so and then you said your partner wouldn't care to learn that you were just having sex just to placate them.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. Like you should care. You should care about that, right? You should care whether or not somebody.
Oh my goodness, you're doing this
right?
again.
No, no. I need an answer to that. You should care whether or not someone is having sex with you just to placate you. Yes
I
or
think
no?
it'd be good if people cared, but again, that doesn't mean that this is rape. That doesn't mean that it's non-consensual. You can keep going backwards in this conversation. I thought we moved past this. We agreed on all of these things, and you keep going backwards to, I think this is bad. Okay, cool. It doesn't make it rape. It doesn't mean that it's non-consensual.
Right? I came to this debate to give
I don't think you understand this topic enough to have this with me in the first place. I'm being nice and talking, and I'm trying. It doesn't sound like it.
I spent the last 24
You
fucking
backed
hours.
Off numerous claims at this point. I just pointed them out.
What point did I back off?
I just explained it. You already said that, like, okay, so earlier you were saying that just like having a walls a different color than the ones that you want to have sex in means that now it's rape. Now you're saying that now you're giving me a list of things that this website says that you're looking for. Has nothing to do with the fucking walls.
No, your argument there is that if somebody's reason for not wanting to have sex is stupid in your mind, then you can still have sex.
That is not what I said. That is not what I said. I said that what if like they want to have sex, they're horny, they're attracted to this person, they're super into them, they're like really wanting to get into it with them, but they don't have like the color of the walls are different, and they wanted to have white walls and they had purple walls, and you said yes, if they have this one aspect that they didn't want, now this is not consensual sex. I don't care how
stupid the reason is somebody doesn't want to have sex with me is. If they don't want to have sex with me, I no longer want to have sex with them.
Okay, that's a cool story. That doesn't make it rape.
Oh, if you don't care whether somebody wants to have sex with you or not, that is rapey.
That you can keep dumbing this down. This is why I'm saying that you don't have the ability to have this conversation. Just a little while ago, you admitted that there's like a spectrum here for all of these things. And so I'm giving you like one small thing taken out that they wouldn't like about this, but they still are happy with all of the other things that we would actually care about. We don't care so much about like whether or not they want the walls to be a certain color when they have sex, but we do care that like they want to have sex with this person, that they're attracted to this person, that they are saying that they're consenting to having sex with this person. Like all of these things are the things that matter.
Tom. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do some role play here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a room. We're hot and heavy. We're gonna get ready. And I say, I don't want to have sex in here. I think I don't like the ring light or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You still get to have sex with that person.
No, they just said that they don't want to have sex in there.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
now what if I say...
It doesn't matter how stupid the reason is.
Oh man, I wanted to have sex with white walls, but I still want to have sex with you, which is what we just discussed. That's not what you said, is not what we discussed. Okay. This is what we discussed. Is this rape?
That's consent in spite of the reason. People can revoke it for dumb reasons. The fact that you're
I agree.
The fact that you're focusing on the stupidity of the reason rather than the fact that the reason exists at all is why people have been calling you rapey for the last 24 hours.
No, it has nothing to do with the stupidity of the reason. It has to do with that we're taking one thing out that they might care about, but the parts where they say, I want to have sex with you, I am turned on, I want to do this right now, I am consenting to sex, like all of those things are in the end the thing that matters.
Mustache, my guy, Jesus Christ! Like, come on, like, do you not like see? Like, do you not have the self-awareness to understand how you come off?
I could literally sit here saying I'm a pedophile and still come out looking better in this debate. There is no shot that the purple wall guy is gonna get me on this. Sorry.
Honestly, here, you want to know my answer to that? If I'm in a situation where a girl's being like really, if they're like, I don't like the colors of the wall, so I'm not going to have sex, then I would immediately not want to have sex with them, and I would probably kick them out of my apartment because I think they're weird.
Whether or not you keep doing this, where you keep saying, that's bad, or I wouldn't want to have sex with them, that's great. That's not what we're discussing. We're just discussing whether or not it's rape. You do this over and over and over. Well, I wouldn't want to do that. Cool story, bro. Not what we're talking about.
The reason I don't want to do it is because it's rapey.
Okay, rapey is not rape. We're talking about what is rape, okay? That is not rape. In what it is that we just discussed, that you could say...
What degree of rapiness are you okay with?
well, I'm not okay with any degree of rapey, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily rape. Well, you keep doing this. What are we okay with? What do we think is good versus what is rape? These are different conversations, and you're continuously moving the topic to something else when we're talking about whether or not it's consent.
My axiom is harm reduction right now, okay? So I'm trying to create a system, and I'm going to experts to see what the experts are saying creates the least amount of harm or whatever. And you're going off of like.
And I agree. No. Hold on. No, don't do that again. No, I agree with the experts on their prescriptions on what it is that we should look for and what it is that we should want when we're looking for consent. I did not disagree with any of those things.
You said you disagreed with enthusiasm.
No, I did not. I disagreed on whether or not that makes it rape. These are different conversations. This is what I'm talking about. You are not even in the same conversation as me. We are talking about whether or not this is what you ought to look for when we're talking about a prescription on what you should do when you are getting ready to have sex with somebody so that you are looking for consent versus whether or not this is rape. Looking for consent and raping somebody.
Is there a way to have sex that isn't consensual? That isn't rape?
No.
Okay.
But let's say we have a guy who actually didn't care whether or not the person consented and was just going and just like wanted to have sex and wasn't looking for any of those things. We prescribe that he looks for those things, but that doesn't mean that just because he didn't look for them that now he raped somebody. These are different things.
All right, man. Look, I think you should be a little more.
You agree with that? Yes.
Careful.
You agree with this?
No,
yes?
I don't agree.
Those are
I don't
different
agree
things.
with that. I don't. I
Okay.
think if somebody is not enthusiastic and you keep on trying to have sex with them, that's fucking weird.
That's a cool story, bro. Not what we're talking about. We're talking about whether or not it's rape. So when we talk about like the SVU style person who goes into the alley and it turns out that the person that they had sex with wanted to have sex with them, that wasn't rape, even though that's something they shouldn't have done. That's not a good prescription for us to tell people to do that, but that doesn't mean that it is rape.
Wait, hold on. You just said that guy that isn't rape, but that guy wasn't informed. That's part of the FRIES acronym.
I agree with this. I agree with this. Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that he is not looking for consent. He is not getting informed consent, but the other person still consents anyways. That's not up to him on whether or not they consent.
So would you be against that guy going to jail because he like got lucky with his rape victim?
Wait, what?
So like say that the guy like he raped someone and they happen to be really into it. Should society
hold on, don't call it rape. The person consented to it.
Well, he has no idea that they consented to it.
Correct.
So then it's still rape then.
Well, no, it's not. It's based on whether or not the person consented to it, not based on whether or not you think they consented to it. It's based on whether or not they did consent to it. Do you agree with that? No, I need you to agree with that.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because that's what every frat bro says before they drag some like fucking sorority girl to their room and passed out.
I don't give a fuck what frat bros say. That has nothing to do with this. You are just wrong. You disagree with all of the experts on this. Consent is based on whether or not the person actually consents, not based on whether or not you think they consented.
Okay. Mr. Pringles mustache guy, can you, if I was to have sex with somebody who was passed out or whatever, and then they woke up and that happened to be their fetish, should is that rape or not? Just because they happen to get lucky with their victim?
No, it is not rape, but they shouldn't do that.
Then you just don't know what rape is. Then this is the problem.
Well, no, you disagree on what rape is. All of the experts agree that rape is non-consensual sex.
If a man basically if a rapist gets lucky and rapes somebody that happens to be happen to be into it and they don't learn till after the fact, that is still rape, even if their victim says no. Says no, it wasn't. There are and that's boilerplate because there are tons of times where like rape victims will say no, they didn't get raped because they don't want the harm to happen to their abuser and stuff like that. Just the act of doing it and then the person happens to be okay with it after the fact, that is still rape. Because you were not informed.
Again,
you were not informed.
Any website that we look at, again, that's not what makes it rape. What makes it rape is whether or not the person did consent, not whether or not you knew they consented. Whether or not you think they consented does not mean a fucking thing. It matters whether or not they did consent. That's it.
Well, the problem is that with the situation you're setting up a world where you're just basically like, as long as I do my like rape stuff to to the right people or whatever, then it's fine. or whatever. Like you basically, your argument is that like if I like fuck somebody that's passed out and then they wake up and they consider it not a big deal, I would still consider that rapey because they did not know whether or not the person would consider it a big deal or not.
Rapey, yes. It's not rape though, but it is rapey. I agree, and people should not do that. That would be bad if somebody did that, but it doesn't mean it's rape.
How do you get here, man? How'd you? What led to this? What happened into your life to lead you to this moment?
I read the definition of rape and studied it for a while. It's it's an important topic to me.
While you were partying, I was studying the rape. Now you have the barbarians at the door, and
well, this is why I debate pedophiles and like I cover people talking about rape and sexual assault and these sorts of things, is because it's a thing that like a lot of people don't understand the nuance on, and they'll run around saying like it only matters to the person who's checking for consent. It doesn't matter whether or not you actually did consent. Whereas like obviously the definition of rape is based on like the actual person consenting themselves.
Quick question: do you play Magic the Gathering?
No.
Okay. There's a concept in it called rules lawyering. I figure you can use context clues to figure out what that means.
Okay.
Do you understand what that means, rules lawyering?
I'm assuming that you're arguing over the rules.
Yes. So like you're like you're like trying to get things based on like, well, the way that this is set up or something, and it's not really caring about whether or not it's fair or reducing harm. Do you think that between us, between me and you, which standard creates less harm?
I'm going to answer this, but I just want to point out again that this is why I don't think you're capable of having this conversation, is because you're getting into prescriptions again instead of the descriptive, which is what we're talking about, is whether or not something is rape, not whether or not it should be rape. But I don't think somebody should do that. I know, again, like when we're talking about should, there's a different thing, but okay, like we can go backwards again.
Determine like what your values are and stuff like that, because evidentiary like claims and stuff like that, that's like debatable, and we have no way to like truly like verify or stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out your values, and that's why I'm trying to keep it here there. I'm trying to say the point of getting your values is that I think your system of like whether or not this is like good, this is bad, or like rules lawyering it creates more sexual assault than what my standard would.
Okay, and I also turn out to be right.
How are you right?
Because I'm going based on the definition of rape and what the experts say on what rape is and whether or not it's consensual, instead of saying
what definition of rape are you working on?
Then non-consensual sex.
Let's see. I am at the should we use Merriam-Webster?
Yeah, sure. I was on Wikipedia, but we can do Merriam-Webster.
Merriam-Webster is wrong because they say unlawful sexual activity and usually sexual intercourse carried forcibly under threat of injury.
Based on a lawful definition, there should be another one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the Rain definition.
And
stuff like that. Some forms of sexual assault include attempted rape, fondling or unwanted sexual touching, forcing a victim to perform sexual acts such as oral sex or penetration of the victim's body, and stuff like that. These are...
That's not a definition.
The fact that they're unwanted is what makes it sexual assault.
Oh my goodness, that's what I said. What the fuck? That's fucking crazy.
You already said earlier...
That disagrees with you. That's insane.
You already said earlier that you had sex with you didn't want.
In what sense?
Okay, no, there's no other sense. It's already there.
That's wild.
So what? Where do we go from here, Tom?
You just debunked yourself, so I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue. You just read it that it's unconsensual sex. That's what I said, but you said I was wrong. Now you just read it. It says it's unconsensual sex. What the fuck? I don't know where we go from here.
Oh, the problem here is that, like, you are... Okay, like, yeah, are you a football fan at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, like... a team, like you see a bullshit call, or do you consider it like, say a team wins, do like a bullshit like ref call or something like that, right? Like, do
Mhm.
you do you consider that like to cheapen the victory, or do you like consider that to like, or is it still a legit victory? Like, do you like do you disagree with people that would feel like it was like cheap or
Yeah, I
whatever?
think it cheapens the victory. Yeah.
Okay, why are you okay with cheapened sex?
Well, you're like presupposing that it's cheapened, but I
I do think if you're having sex just to make sure someone else's emotional well being is okay, I do think that that cheapens it. I do you would you be, like, weirded out if, like, a girl was like, "Oh, yeah, I've only been having sex with you this week because, like, I was afraid you were gonna leave me," or, "I didn't really wanna do it, but I was afraid you're gonna leave me. I thought you'd get mad or something if I said no." Like, how would you feel in that situation?
I yes, if they're saying that they were just having sex with me because they were afraid that I was going to leave them, um, I mean, I wouldn't be happy because generally I probably wouldn't leave somebody just over sex, but I wouldn't be like upset about the sex in and of itself, just more so that yeah.
So, the point so you we would, like would you keep having sex with that person after hearing that?
If I felt like they were consenting to it, yes.
But they already said that they're already having sex with you, just because they're afraid you're gonna leave them.
Yeah, if they don't want to have sex with me for any other reason and they just think that I'm gonna leave them,
Okay, but, like,
then
how
no,
do you
I
figure
wouldn't
that
want to
out
have
then?
sex with them.
How do you figure that out in that situation? Because they've already said they're willing to, like, just be placate you and stuff like that. Then you have to question in your own head, like, "Fuck, every time I'm fucking this person, I have no idea if they even wanna fuck me or not." So, like, why would you even stay with that
Well, they
person?
do want to fuck me. They just want to fuck me so that I stay with them.
But they don't want they aren't trying to have sex with you because they wanna have sex. They're doing it because they're scared of you leaving them.
hmm That's why they want to have sex with me.
So, stop so it would be on you at that point to stop having sex with that person.
If I felt like that was the only reason that they were ever going to have sex with me, I probably wouldn't want to do it. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just maybe?
Yep.
Alright, I mean, look, dude, it's really hard to argue this with somebody who just I think is just fundamentally misunderstand. I think you should probably stay away from covering sexual assault because I don't think you understand it well enough. I can bring on somebody from Rain if you wanna talk to them that's, like, an actual expert in the field if you'd
That would
like.
be fucking great. Yes. If you are there too, yes. Actually, I want them to go over this conversation with us.
Okay, I'll see what I can do, but, I don't think it would look good for you. I
I'm terrified. It would be horrible. Let's do it.
okay. Alright, whatever, man. We had this conversation as good as we could've.
Well,
Alright?
all right.
Okay, here, let me just, you have a good stream, buddy, alright?
All right. Later, man.
Later.
TaylorMade. What the fuck? TaylorMade. What the actual fuck? Why? What is happening? He literally went back on his definition. What are you doing? Why are you denying this? Why are you denying this, TaylorMade? He literally he said the definition is not unconsensual sex. And then he went and read the definition that it's not consensual sex. What happened? I had to be true to myself. Okay. You started saying that I was doing a cope laugh because I'm laughing at him for going back on his definition. And he literally went back on his definition.